Listen, I'm not here to rag on Eustass Kid. It is very obvious that Eiichiro Oda is setting up Eustass to be a major player character among the worst generation for the future of the series. When it came to pre-time skip, his bounty was 15 million more than Luffy's. And at the beginning of post-time skip, Luffy was 400 and Kid was 470. I can understand to a certain extent why people have this portrayal, this notion of Kid from a combat standpoint. Kid is fairly high, but I am very confident in saying that people are overblowing Kid, saying things like Kid is as strong as Monkey D. Luffy, current Monkey D. Luffy. And we'll get into the juicy details soon, but first, this video is sponsored. It is sponsored by Amino apps. Now, some of you guys and gals already know that I use the One Piece Amino app when it comes to spreading some of my content that I upload for One Piece. However, Amino apps are so much more than that, because Aminos are a mobile network of communities. And so if you're a fan of a certain series and you want to talk to other people about said series, you can go to Amino apps and join a community of people that are also fanboys and fangirls of the series that you are a fan of. Definitely a very good place to get in contact with the people that share your interest. As of late, for me personally, my favorites when it comes to the Amino so far have been, of course, One Piece Wa, Nanatsu no Taizai, aka the Seven Deadly Sins, and recently I've been watching this series called Darling in the Franxx, and it is fairly entertaining, so I did join that Amino group as well. Now, this applies to all other Aminos. When it comes to, let's say, the anime Amino, you can go into the feature section and you can scroll down, you can see what's going on, who's posting what, does it catch your interest. You can go to the post sections, see what folks are talking about, and of course vote the way you want to vote. You can go to the quizzes and then test your knowledge of anime and manga and see if you need to step your game up. Not only that, but you can also see what's going on live by going to the live layer of the Amino app, seeing who's online, what are they doing, what are they chatting about. And because there's so many cats on at once, there is always something going on and people are always talking about something, whether it's 4 in the afternoon or 4 in the morning. Not only that, but you can text and voice chat as well with other folks essentially across the world. There is a lot to do when it comes to anime Amino and Amino in general. Definitely. So it is in your best interest to check it out, whether it be on your Android, iPhone, and of course there'll be a link in the box below for you to join the Amino apps. And now let's get back to the video topic at hand. Eustass Kid, Monkey D. Luffy. Now, this all started when I was talking to a bunch of the guys after One Piece chapter 903 dropped. We did a hangout like right then and there during the stream. By the way, there'll be a link in the box below to twitch.tv where the stream was hosted. Definitely follow me on twitch.tv. It is mandatory. That being said, we were talking about many things, and then the topic of Kid and Luffy came up, and to give you a snippet of how things went, here you go.
Ty, would you say, you're saying Kid is stronger than Luffy? Would
Yeah,
you
by like 10%,
say that,
8%.
well, would you say that Kid could beat Katakuri?
Yes. Keep this in mind. Look, it doesn't mean that he mid this category. No, it's high diff for him too. But Kid is like, I'm telling you, this whole story.
And so from there, it just kind of like cascaded into a whole bunch of stuff. Let me say this, okay? There are a lot of people. Shout out to Taekwon, shout outs to Brago and other people, right? But there are a lot of people that put Kid on this pedestal. And I can understand why, considering that Oda has put Kid in the same group as Luffy and Law, where these three among the supernova are the ones that we as the fans have to keep our eyes open for. Law, Kid, Luffy. So we're going to go through this step by step, piece by piece, and we're going to try and gauge in a general sense how powerful Kid is compared to Luffy. And again, this mainly has to come from Portrayal, because Kid has rarely shown anything. So let's start here. Pre-time skip Kid. We know a few things. Number one, Kid has a higher bounty than Luffy, but according to Shaki, that was mainly because of his actions against civilians. That's number one. Number two, his ability. He is magnetism. Now, he can probably, I can't say this is the case, but he could probably, let's say, do things like remove the metal and the iron, like the copper and that kind of stuff, from the ground or from the rocks, and use that in combat. That's probably, considering his ability, and it's probably more refined now, but at the same time, who knows? Or it could take it a whole different way. But that could easily be within the realm of his powers. But pre-time skip, it was simple, attraction, repulsion, and that was it. So he needed a large quantity of metal to be around him for him to duplicate the big Gear 3rd pistol that Luffy used against the Marines.
Look at that.
In Luffy's case, there was a drawback because he's using Gear 3, and so he shrinks down. But in Kid's case, if the metal's not there, then he can't do that. It's that simple. If the metal is not there, Kid cannot do that. So Kid's powers seem to be very tied to his environment, whereas Luffy and Law, they can do their abilities on the spot, whether it's rubber or whether it is the the room itself. Kid does have that disadvantage of the environment does matter. Granted, post-time skip, it's a bit different because post-time skip, he has a metal arm attached to him because he lost his arm somehow, some way. So the metal arm is going to be, of course, used in combat via his Luffy powers, but when it comes to large-scale attacks, if there's no metal around him, and if he cannot remove metal from the environment itself, like from the dirt and take out the copper and the iron, that kind of stuff, then we have a problem. Kid has a big, big problem. So that's the next thing for pre-time skip and also / post-time skip. The next thing is that there's someone else in his crew that is a member of the Supernova, and that is Killer. So in this case, Kid, Killer, Luffy, Zoro. That would be another parallel between the two crews. And that would be a way of also kind of stating or gauging that Kid is just as strong, if not stronger, than Luffy. Finally, I'm not too sure if it was filler, because I forget, honestly. I'm pretty sure it was canon. But Law and Kid engaged against Pacifista just how Luffy and the Strats did. Again, the issue here is that Kid didn't really show much from a combat ability standpoint pre-time skip. And it looks like if there's no metal in the environment around him, then he's at a huge disadvantage. But that is based on pre-time skip. Post-time skip, he has the metal arm, and he may be able to remove stuff from the environment around him, the metals, but we have to see that actually happen to say that's a component of his power. We do know he was engaging with the Big Mom Pirates and some of her ships, and him and his boys were destroying those ships, and he was being quite a nuisance to the Big Mom Pirates. On the flip side, though, and this is where we start to get into more parallels and portrayals here, Brûlé is not giving Kid justice. According to Brûlé, among the Supernova that went to Big Mom's territory, Capone joined the crew, but later on we know why, to assassinate Big Mom. But among the Supernova that engaged in combat with the Big Mom Pirates in Big Mom's territory, the only one that was worth his salt was Mad Monk Urouge.
奴は生意気にも小生の一人を打ち破った。少し前まで4小生だったのさ。
He defeated 4th Street Commander Snacks, and the details of that fight are unknown. We have no idea how it went down. All we know is that Snacks was defeated by Urouge. That's all we know. However, Kid engaged in combat too, and Kid and company were repelled. Now, the question here would be, at what time after they entered the new world did this happen? On Urouge's side, because we see Urouge wounded on this Sky Island before Kaido just fell. I love that scene. Urouge must have fought against the Big Mom Pirates recently. But on the side of Kid, we have no idea. We have no idea when he went to Big Mom's territory. It could have been at the beginning of his journey when he hit the new world. It could have been midway, a year deep. It could have been a few months ago. Could have been 2 months ago. Who knows? But at some point, it happened, he failed. So that doesn't help Kid in the slightest. And let's say the parallel between Urouge and Kid is identical. So in this case, just how Uroge fought against 4th Commander Snacks, as did Kid and his pirate crew, that would mean that 4th Commander Snacks and his boys repelled Kid, and Uroge was able to defeat 4th Commander Snacks, which would mean that in this sense, from a portrayal standpoint, Uroge is above Kid. I don't agree with that at all. Oh, no. For me, listen, again, the details of the fight are unknown. Uroge could have threw a banana peel on the ground and Snacks slipped on it. Y'all listen, again, we don't know. I'm not going to go as far as to say that Uroge is superior than Eustass Kid. But the portrayal that Brule is giving us of the supernova post-time skip is sure making the push. Definitely making the push. That Uroge is superior in combat than Kid. That's not a good... No, that's not a good thing. Topple that with taking on Kaido. Yeah, listen. Of course he's going to lose. Now, how bad was the beating? I don't know. Was it mid-diff? Was it low-diff? Or was it a baby shake? I don't know. He grabbed Kid, threw him in jail. Listen, we don't know. But from the portrayal of Uroge and Kid, Uroge is coming out the superior. We know that Kid's been fighting over the course of these 2 years, and we know, given certain intense situations, Haki can bloom. Alright, so Haki can bloom now. And your Haki can be almost Saiyan-like, almost Zenkai-like. You can level up your Haki in these very intense fights, i.e. Luffy. However, that speaks for Haki and Haki alone. He does have that bit of a buffer with his Duffy power when it comes to his metal arm. Fair enough. But if the environment isn't tailored towards him, it's going to be a problem unless his Haki game is extraordinarily on point. But now, in order to try and gauge that, again, we're trying here. We're trying. We can't say for sure. But now, in order to try and gauge that, we're gonna have to jump to Luffy and Law. And we're gonna have to jump to the time skip itself. During the time skip itself, we know that Luffy was training with Mayo Rayleigh, both Haki and Dofru oriented. Now when we transfer this over to Law, and you can make the argument, I think, that Law wasn't going as hard as Eustass, considering how Law became a Shichibukai, and so he had amnesty to do like whatever he wanted to do for a period of time, whereas Kid was going in deep and he lost an arm at some point. Maybe Law wasn't going as hard as Kid. I'm not going to say that he wasn't, but there's a chance that he wasn't. There's a chance. Moving on, Law, from a Haki standpoint, is not that potent. I would assume he has a fair degree of Kamboshan Haki, but that's my assumption. We don't really see it. And Armored Haki, he did block various abilities from Flamingo with Armored Haki. He did. So his Armored Haki is good enough to defend against that kind of stuff. And I would assume that the same thing applies to Kid, where Kid's Armored Haki could also defend against attacks from, let's say, Flamingo. Kid could be Kamboshan Haki based as opposed to Armored Haki based. Maybe, who knows? If the parallel here is between Law and Kid, then Kid is probably not that much better. I would say he's better, but not that much better when it comes to Haki abilities, and nowhere near that of Luffy, because again, Luffy trained under Mayo. He trained under Rayleigh, who's a Haki master. And to say, well, having your Haki bloom in intense fights is equal or greater than being trained by Rayleigh. Oh no! That just doesn't make sense. You live in a universe where 2 + 2 is 15. Like, what's happening? Wait a minute. There's all types of wonky stuff. Ancient alien stuff. Like
we're half human and half extraterrestrial. We're hybrids.
Like, wait, hold. Wait, whoa. Slow down there, Tiger. Goddamn. Let's not buy the Ancient Alien Blu-ray set just yet. Like let's just think about it for a second. Like, does this make sense? Does this tie with reality? Like, are we on planet Earth still? I don't know. The training that Luffy and company went through during the 2 years was so that they could prepare themselves for the new world, so they could be as successful as possible going into the new world. Kid and company had to suffer, but they honed their skills because of that suffering, and they became stronger for it. But unless Kid was fighting against like some crazy opponents every day, very little chill time, just every day going all out, which I doubt, the training has more value, especially when you're being trained by the vice captain of the Roger Pirates. Like, that's nuts. No. Like, I don't care how much your hockey blooms. No. So from a Duffwood standpoint, Kid has issues. Probably. From a hockey standpoint, he has to have issues compared to Luffy. This is all compared to Luffy. From a Duffwood standpoint, I would say Luffy is superior when it comes to the mastery of his powers. When it comes to hockey, definitely. Without question. In fact, I question if Kid has Conqueror's hockey. Like, I know some folks are going to say, of course, yeah.
Of course.
As far as we know, Mihawk doesn't have Conqueror's hockey. So is it so shocking that Kid doesn't have it? And maybe Kid does have it. I'm leaning more towards he doesn't. So now when we take a look at all these things I just mentioned, given the parallels that we can make, kind of, because again, they're all shaky. All of them are shaky. But given the parallels that we can make with him and other Supernova, given our knowledge, what we know of his powers, the possibility of what they could or could not be, the only way for Kid at this point in time to be considered stronger than Luffy that actually makes sense is if you believe that Kid was already superior than Luffy pre-time skip, like vastly superior than Luffy, which I see almost no evidence for. Now, if that's what you believe, then fine. It is what it is. If we take Kid and put him against Rob Lucci and remove Luffy, if you think that Kid is superior, then Kid should be able to handle Rob Lucci better than Luffy. Now, I'm not too sure about Kid's base stats, but Luffy's base stats, his strength, his speed, his endurance, his DC, all those are phenomenal. Training since he was very young with Ace, Sabo, and company. I'll argue that his base stats are superior than Kid's too. But hey, if you think otherwise, by all means. The latest chapter of One Piece, 903. It is very apparent that Oda is trying to push Luffy way ahead of the group. Not just his own crew, but as well as the rest of like the World's Generation, with the exception of Blackbeard. But the other Supernova, he's being pushed ahead tremendously. From that standpoint of Portrayal, the latest chapter would only be a massive up for Luffy when we're trying to gauge these two from a power standpoint, because Luffy is that much more ahead. If bounty doesn't matter now in this sense, because bounties matter, but they matter very little. They matter very little in the sense of gauging combat prowess, because you can attain a high bounty by doing messed up things, but you're not necessarily a good fighter, stuff like that. But the push for Luffy to become the star among the Supernova is clearly happening. It is clearly happening. And everybody, including Kid, is going to be left behind. So again, unless you feel like Kid was already vastly superior than Luffy pre-time skip, then the most that you'd get post-time skip is Kid and Luffy being on the same level. Saying that Kid is stronger than Luffy, I think, is a huge stretch with very little backing other than Portrayal. And you feel like Kid is that strong. Fine, fair enough. With the others that we have, which is small, Kid is not stronger than Luffy. In fact, he's not even on the same level as Luffy. In fact, just how Law got beaten by Doffy. And yes, Doffy and Law both knew their own abilities fairly well, given their history. But just how Law lost to Doffy, I'm pretty sure Kid would also lose to Doffy. And that being said, I am done. I know it's controversial, and what I'll do, once again, thanks to the sponsor of this video, Amino Apps. As you see here, I am posting the poll on the app. Is Kid stronger than Luffy? Yes, no, they're the same strength. We'll see. If there are enough votes on the poll, I will do a video on this as well. So once again, thanks to Amino Apps for the sponsor. Check it out on your iPhone or on your Android device, as well as a link in the box below. Check it out. and I am going to see you guys and gals later. Let me know your thoughts on the matter at hand, and be sure to rate the video. It is not that hard to do. I guarantee you that, because I know that you all have a device called Zemaosu. You use Zemaosu to click, rate the video, to click, subscribe, to click on that bell to join the squad, and of course, comment in the comment section down below. Peace, and have a nice goddamn day.